one businessman has turned to history and water. Style, elegance, and environmentally correct.
You've got increase in horsepower, increase in efficiency, thereby giving you increase in MPG, mileage, and also durability of the engine, as well as reduction, a major significant reduction in the emission.
The secret is as old as the Industrial Revolution, steam.
The first engine, if you think back in history, was steam engine. After we had the steam engine, the United States Air Force used steam for power because water, when it's converted to steam, expands 2,000 times. So you get a burst of power.
A simple conversion, starting with a trunk, a small tank of water with a drop of lubricating oil.
It's only 2.5 gallons, and each gallon will last an average of 200 miles.
The rest is under the hood.
This pump takes the fluid from the rear supplementary tank and delivers it directly into the heart of the engine, the combustion chamber, where there's over 1,000 degrees that immediately vaporizes the water into steam.
The steam puts more oxygen into the gasoline for higher octane. And the gasoline is another matter. It's natural gas, gasoline before all the additives.
It's the cleanest of the gasoline family, also the least expensive of the gasoline family.
The bottom line question, if this is so great, why aren't we all driving around with steam-assisted engines?
All of the energy alternatives, someone is making money. With water, no one would make money.
With this car, the Japanese are going to give it a run. The new Stutz, the steam booster as factory equipment.
First car in the world at the factory to have this system.
It's going to take all of us, all over the world, young and old, rich and poor, from every country, working together in order to successfully resolve the environmental crises we face. To reach that goal, we simply have to change the way we look at the world around us, change the way we think about our relationship to the Earth's environment.
Ford himself, the first Model T quadro-jet engine, had either a possibility to burn gasoline, alcohol, but always with a water drip system. Because he had a pickle jar, basically, that had a straw that just dripped the water in the engine and made a little bit of steam.
The history of this technology goes back to the Battle of Britain. Is that right, Bud?
Yes, that's right. The predominant #1 fighter of any Air Force in World War II turned out to be the P-51 Mustang. Why? Because they adapted the water injection and the alcohol injection so that they could get higher altitude and get above enemy fighters in combat. That was the main thing of aerobatics then, was to get above your opponent so you could dive down and get after them. And that's what won the war, water injection.
After nearly half a century of ongoing research in octane development, renewable fuels applications, and emission controls, Tectane Corporation has achieved burning 75-octane gasoline as a primary fuel. Using a patented injection system, 75-octane gasoline is a natural or straight-cut gasoline with no polluting additives or chemicals. Although water is not generally thought of as a combustible liquid, by injecting it into the engine combustion chamber, the area between the piston head and the spark plug where combustion occurs, the water is turned to steam. The combustion temperature, which reaches over 1,000 degrees, instantly vaporizes the injected water.
One of the big advantages that's been totally neglected for the last 50 years is the fact that you can burn a very low-cost octane. In other words, a gasoline that's very inexpensive. Right now, when you buy gasoline, you buy premium gasoline, 92 octane or 87 octane. When you inject water in the form of turning it to steam and then hydrogen and oxygen, you're able to burn as low as 70 to 75 octane. That translates to a huge savings to the consumer, ranging anywhere from 25 to 50 cents a gallon.
The use of 70 octane gasoline, which is straight run from your crude oil, when we use that, instead of upgrading it to 90 octane with MBTE and other methods, hydrocracking, hydrofining, and so forth, alkylation, isomerization, are all expensive processes that are used to upgrade our straight-run gasoline now in all the refineries. Most of the equipment in the refinery now is for the upgrading of the 70 octane straight-run gasoline. About 15% of our crude oil is wasted. We have to use more crude per gallon of gasoline by present methods than we would if we went into water injection to get the same high octane. Now this will amount to several million barrels of oil per year.
The water-soluble oil acts as an inhibitor to prevent engine corrosion and as an upper cylinder lubricant, extending engine life. The injection pump is activated upon acceleration and load demand. Since the internal combustion engine only requires high octane at these levels, this system meets the requirements of the engine as needed.
How does water injection actually work?
It lowers the temperature at which the combustion of the fuel occurs, and this cuts back on the nitrogen oxides, the NOx, because they're generated at higher temperatures. The water lowers that temperature. Another thing that it does, the water itself is a liquid, and it's expanded to a steam during the reaction, and that extra expansion gives additional power to the gasoline. And the third point is, from the chemist's point of view, the initial combustion leaves a little bit of unburned carbon, a misty form of unburned carbon, and that will react under these conditions. Carbon plus H2O gives us carbon monoxide and hydrogen, and that then is burned cleanly to generate more power from the gasoline.
And that fuel, the 70 to 75 octane, is without any additives, which can be poisonous.
That is correct. Right now in America, they've chosen the route of going to MTBE, methyl-tetrabutyl ether, that are chemicals that will raise the octane. Also lower the carbon monoxide by offering oxygen in the chemical itself. But the point is that in MTBE, these chemicals that they're offering and blending now with the gasoline, in the oxygen content, you've only got about 6% in molecular weight. In the case of water, in molecular weight, you've got 89% oxygen. So in other words, if you're looking for oxygen, water has got more oxygen to offer than your MTBE.
Recent tests done with the city of Hollywood, Florida, indicated emission reduction ranging from 20 to 80% using 75 octane gasoline and Tectane's injection system and fuel formula in 6 of their supervisory staff vehicles.
How come the oil industry hasn't gotten behind this? Why aren't we able to take advantage of this wonderful technology already in 1993?
They have a great deal of capital invested in refinery equipment over and beyond the initial distillation of the crude oil into straight-run gasoline. Most of the rest of the equipment is for upgrading that octane to 90, and they've spent billions of dollars actually on this procedure, and they're a little reluctant to consider the use of something as straightforward and simple as we have here. It's a question of inertia.
If we are going to change the way we live and the way we interact with nature, everyone is going to have to get involved.
The other aspect was to formulate petitions worldwide where through communication like this show today and satellite communication in all the different countries in the world, where people would actually sign a petition demanding a pollution police be established by perhaps the United Nations or a body somewhat similar to that, a violation committee that assures the world that no technology, whether it be hydrogen, water, solar, is ignored because of special interests.
The U.S. Department of Agriculture featured news bulletin number 771-80 states that Tectane's alcohol, water, and injection system is 800% more efficient than the gasohol approach. Olson Engineering of Huntington Beach, California, an EPA independent certified lab, has already documented that the Tectane system increases miles per gallon up to 25.2%. Other private corporations such as Marriott Hotels and Pepsi-Cola of Miami have witnessed increases in miles per gallon ranging from 30 to 40%. The Society of Automotive Engineers test paper number 215-216 documented an increase in miles per gallon up to 40% and extension life similar to mileage increase. In 1991, Tectane Corporation won the award for the best ecological patent over GM, Nissan, solar, electric, and the natural gas conversion car entries.
Why is this almost a secret to the public?
Because it is probably to the advantage of the manufacturers of these additives not to use something as cheap as water. The cost of refineries to manufacture the gasoline that we drive with has risen by a factor of 1,000 in the last 20 years, just to make the high octane fuels that the high compression engines require. We don't need this.
The ideal is to go in transition. There's tremendous amount of technologies available. Solar, of course, and ultimate hydrogen are ideal if you can afford the cost. Our opinion is let's start with the most sensible, practical, available, and that's water. Water, raw water, as is right now, with a $50 pump. That's all it costs. Then go from there to alcohol as a primary fuel and still using the water. And then go from there to solar, electric, or hydrogen by year 2000.
I hope that the watchwords for the next century are sustainability and renewability so that future generations can live in peace and plenty on this planet.
50 years ago, after the Air Force demonstrated the effectiveness of this, it should have been adapted. It should have been commercialized at that time. Unfortunately now, instead of America having to scrap all these billions of dollars of refineries, it's a difficult situation for them. And in our case, we can't wait for America to do that. And we've been invited by the Chinese government, we've been invited by the King of Thailand, the royal board for the King of Thailand. We've also been invited by the government of India and other countries, including Japan, Pakistan, and some of the countries that have not developed the refineries yet. So they see this as a wonderful opportunity to help on their economic situation as well as the environmental implications.
Today, Tectane is the optimum choice